1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. One, two, three. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. It's coming through. 3, 2. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Everyone ready? Is it possible to get rid of the echo? Is everyone's audio's off? Good. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:03 and welcome to the September 8th, 2021 regular meeting of the HBCSD Board meeting. It is hybrid, it is in person, and it is also available digitally. There is nothing to report from tonight's closed session, so I'd like to call to order the open session for this evening. Christine, if you could please take the roll call.
Board Member Cole.
Present.
Board Member Gardner.
Present.
Board Member Cluth.
Present.
Vice President Clerk Bove-LaMonica.
Present.
And
Aye.
President McCall.
Present.
All present.
Thank you, Christine. If everyone would please rise and join us for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll move on to approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Doug. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor, Christine?
Board Member Cole.
Aye.
Board Member Gardner.
Aye.
Board Member Cluth.
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove-LaMonica.
Aye.
President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you very much. Jason, announcements, over to you.
There we go. Okay. Hi. All right. Christine, can we go ahead and put up our presentation? Very good. Okay, so we're going to take you on a little bit of a tour of the first day of school, and we're going to do a quick little overview across the district. Slide. So by the numbers, we had 1,240 students show up to our door on Friday, September 3rd. And we began with 114 staff members and 58 teachers. And I just want to again highlight that we expanded, we returned or expanded 8 extracurricular programs, including Sparks Lab, Idea Lab, and then expanding things such as video production and 5th grade band. Slide. So with health and safety, we know that that's still a consideration, or still seeing the higher case rates in the Los Angeles area. One thing I just want to highlight is that we are providing concurrent instruction for those students that are in quarantine, and we've already actively began to use concurrent instruction for students that have exposure. Our staff and volunteers will be vaccinated or tested weekly by October 1st. And then we are working on a plan for testing of student athletes. There's been a little bit of a delay because the protocols have changed in regard to how student athletes can participate in school sports. And there's a weekly testing protocol. So we're working with Beach City's health district in order to put in a protocol that could support those students. And then it looks like with intramural sports that for the fall season, there's a pause right now when it comes to intramural sports. And we're looking to work with our athletic directors across the South Bay for a start time of the season. Slide. So enrollment. As I mentioned, we are starting here with 1,240. We are still making enrollment adjustments, as you know, we learned that some students are either showing up or some students are not showing up. Just to kind of highlight, and you can see there that our enrollment in 1920 was 1,346, and then we lost substantial enrollment during our COVID year. It went to 1,198 And then we have recouped and regained much of that enrollment, going back up to 1240. And this is thanks to many of our families who live in Hermosa Beach returning to our campus and to our schools. And we continue to push to grow that enrollment because in the 22-23 school year, we are no longer held harmless for our ADA. And it's important that we continue to regain or recoup enrollment, and that's in alignment with the completion of our 3 schools. Slide. So this is the Vista View opening. I was there in the morning, and this is there's Ms. Jones there in the background and lining students up. It was a very smooth start to the day, getting kids into classrooms. As I understand, traffic was a little rough. You mean like in the morning, but as you know, the first day of school traffic is always rough. So we're working with our parents. I understood it was a lot better today. And we're training them on our procedures for the beginning of school and for drop off and pickup. Slide. This was over at Valley. I started my day at Valley. A lot of our students are on Valley campus. It's a packed house, but it feels very warm and fuzzy there. I mean, like we're all together. But our staff there did a great job. Thanks to our parents for helping our kids land. And it was also a successful start to the school year. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to now take a little deeper look from our principals and their presentation on their first day. Christine, can you fire up View Vista? All right, so here is some first day activities from Hermosa View at Vista. Slide. So there's some images of our first day. Some of our kindergartners coming to school. Full day kindergarten, TK2. All right, slide. And then here's some first day pictures. There's Miss Bateman and there's our students safely on the carpet, social distancing. Slide. Here are some of our students. There's Cash right there. I got to know him a little bit in the morning. And I just want to highlight, Miss Tanita and her staff's power quote for their school is know, grow, and inspire. Slide. Just a few more images of our students at play. Slide. So from the staff meeting, we had professional development for 3 days prior to the start of school. And so Ms. Tanita highlighted that know your learners, and when we know our learners, we can identify next steps to grow and inspire. Slide. Team Hermosa, all in for our kids. Thank you, Ms. Tanita. Slide. Then just a few more staff meeting highlights. We are, of course, reviewed safety procedures with our teachers. They're very well versed now from their experiences last year. Keep in mind that this is the same staff that did do a traditional full day schedule last year. And our goal is to keep students safe and keep schools open. Slide. This is just a highlight of our new counselor, Troy Butcher. She grew up in LA and she received her master's in her credential from USC. And here are some things she likes to do, including binging Harry Potter. Now, I'm not sure if that's binge watching the movies or binging the books, but very fun to have Troy on staff, and she's getting her legs. She was an intern counselor before in several different placements, and really excited. She has a lot of great energy, and I think she's been really great for our young kids. Slide. All right, let's take it over to Hermosa Valley. Slide. All right, rolling into the first day. As you all know, we have a lot of bikers at Hermosa Valley. That bike rag is the biggest bike rag I've ever seen in my life. And so, and there's our goals highlighted in the background there behind our student. Slide. All right, here's a plethora of family pictures. Ms. Bledsoe made everyone hold up the sign and took pictures of them. Very, very cool. I was, poking a little bit, encouraging the older two students to have to pose with their moms and dads. So just a nice little touch. And you can see a lot of excitement. Like getting families back to school. Slide. Just some more pictures with friends. Seeing a lot of friendly faces together. Slide. And then getting right back to business, teaching getting started, fun happening, and of course, lunch at Valley. Slide. There are some of our teachers, some of our newer teachers, and some of our returners. There's the great Miss Bradley Aranda there, who also gave the keynote address for our staff. Slide. All right, some staff meeting highlights. Be a champion for your students. And there was a professional development on student connections and student relationships and trying to build that culture, especially now that Valley is a little bit of a bigger campus this year. It's all the more important to making those connections with our students. Slide. All right, Team Hermosa, all in for our kids. Slide. Some staff meeting highlights. They celebrated togetherness, discussed embracing change, and then, of course, reviewing those safety procedures. Slide. And this is Cassie Riley. She is our Valley counselor. Cassie moved from Southern California from England 15 years ago. So, Stephen, you mean like, a little bit of commonality there. She went to Cal State Long Beach, a fellow alma mater with me for our master's programs. And she loves spending time with her families, and she also loves to read and do cooking as well also. So she's really great. We're excited. She was a long-term sub over at Redondo Schools. She has a really interesting background. I think she's going to make some great connections with our students. Slide. All right. Well, that concludes our first day highlights. And it was a great first day. It was a fun first day having on Friday. I got that question a lot. I was like, why are we starting on a Friday? And I just started responding at a certain point saying, because it's awesome to start on a Friday. And so, yeah, but I just really want to thank the staff, our administration, our parents, and then most in particular, our students. This was actually my first day in Hermosa, seeing our students come back, and it was really, really nice. And it's been an interesting journey. And I'm just really, really happy and enthused to see our kids back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Love the visual announcements. Thank you very much. Yeah, fabulous. But are we open to questions on that, or is it sort of save it for under superintendent update on things?
That's up to you. I'll take questions.
Well, just if the board has any, you presented such information there as well on things. I don't know if the board had any queries on anything, or apart from the obvious thanks. All good? I do have some queries. I wanted to ask, you mentioned about traffic, and that's natural at Vista or just at any school first week. But NTMP, just with it being sort of still a different year, not to sort of put too much of a cap on it, but I'm just curious, sort of the plan for measurements and when that NTMP plan gets into sort of full swing.
Yeah, so right now, we have TK2 at the campus, which is an interim period during construction. And as we saw last year, a week or two, under the staggered schedule and alignment with the NTMP, that the traffic patterns do work, and the flow time, which I've actually timed myself, can be under 3 minutes. So I do believe that we have new TKK parents, as well as just a transitioning to start of the school year, and so for probably 1 to 2 weeks, we'll see traffic patterns that are not in alignment with our experiences last year, at the end of last year, when all the parents knew the system. But within 2 weeks, I believe it'll be substantially better. I did get a briefing from Ms. Tania today that it is substantially better. That said, it's important to note that with the NTMP and with assessing the traffic patterns, that because of COVID and because of the transition of construction, that these traffic patterns will not be the final resting place for traffic at Vista. For example, right now we have TK through second grade there, which is 4 grade levels. Think about it, but it's, we'll call it 3. Whereas in a year's time, we'll have 3rd and 4th grade there, which is 1 whole grade less. And it's also older students who are walkers, bikers, as we know, because we see all their bikes at Valley. And that's in alignment with the NTP. That was one of the purposes of having those grade levels there in order to reduce traffic. So, I mean, even though I know we're moving out of it, we still are navigating, what was a crisis. And I'm glad that we made that move and put our youngest students in our newest building. And in 22, 23, I'm looking forward to more normalcy and a final 3-site solution.
That's great. Thank you for that. And in terms of the challenges coming back in with COVID and all the rest of enrollment and other things. So, I love a good visual metaphor. But I'm assuming we'll know more balance because things may even still fluctuate for the next week, right? So I'm just wondering, the more definitive next board meeting in terms of.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we're still, usually in any given year, not just the year that we've experienced, that enrollment fluctuates in the first 2, even 3 weeks of school. You have many students that will show up later. You'll have students that will leave later, and you have, again, of course, students that just don't show up. We really worked hard to put out early messaging and to gather form data from our families who were not returning and who were, and we've honestly gone through several iterations of that. So our hope is that the number is much closer to the mark because we did a lot of that legwork over the summer and the spring. But yes, we will see a fluctuation. By the October board meeting, we should see more of a final resting place of our enrollment for this school year.
Okay, great. Last question. And again, you mentioned it because of the sports health protocols, and they do change sometimes day to day from PCH, as we know, as we love them, but keeping us safe and healthy. What is the latest on sort of protocols or guidance and sort of outside sort of especially mask guidance on usage? I mean, at the moment we have students wear masks outside, or that's
for sports or just general?
I guess for general.
General, yeah. So masks are optional currently outdoors, and that's consistent with the LA Department of Health protocols mandate.
Yep.
And they're mandatory for indoors.
Good.
And then I believe in the latest youth sports protocol that indoor sports are required to wear masks at this point. And there was just, I thought I saw across my email before we started another update that literally came through to your point, Stephen, on the youth protocols. So if something has changed between now and the last hour, I wouldn't be surprised.
Brilliant. Thank you. All right. Appreciate all those announcements, particularly the visual on this. Thank you, Jason. Moving on to communications. I'll open up to public comments to the board. Seeing none in the chambers. Christine, just checking if we have anyone on Zoom.
We do not have anybody in Zoom for public comment. Stephen?
Right. Thank you, Christine. Seeing none, I'll close public comment and move on to written communications. I'll just cover off a couple that I believe we all got. Nicole Ellison, in terms of back to school picnic, which I believe will be covered in terms of other updates. James Moser for blended class, also Sean Dennison on blended class. I'll also just cover off on communication with myself. Sarah Bradshaw from CSBA, Anne Yang regarding scheduling of meetings, Paisley Vaughan, Performing Arts and Wellness, referred by Jen, Brian Cooley regarding marketing, Carolyn Petty on the workshop, Mitch Midler on View School, and I believe Maggie was on that CC, Barbara Haynes regarding an open position, Erin Smith, HBEF, and Tara McNamara on health protocols, and Maggie was also CC'd on that. Quentin, we'll go down the line. Any written communications you want? Nothing further? Great, thank you. Jen?
I had one just about the mixed classroom from Nancy. I'm forgetting her last name. I'm just forgetting Nancy's last name.
Or Nancy?
Nancy Reynolds.
Reynolds, thanks. Other than the ones you already had mentioned, Stephen.
Thank you. Maggie?
Received emails from Marie Rice, Scott Davies, Tony Higgins, neighbors regarding Vista and traffic, and then an email from CSBA Rima Sidara on doing an observation of a school site.
I only had the ones that everybody got. Thank you.
Peachy. Thanks, Doug. All right, moving swiftly on to. Hang on. I feel like moving swiftly on to superintendent update.
Thank you, Stephen. Just a few updates. One, I really want to highlight and thank Bradley Aranda. She's a 4th grade teacher for giving her keynote address to our staff. She was highlighting Thrive K Life, and she's lived it because she attended our schools and now she's currently working in our schools. But she did point out that she only attended 1st grade through 8th grade. So it's first through life. So she just has a long history in our community. And I actually did have the pleasure of speaking with her mother to thank her for having such a great kid. So just really a good highlight to what it means to live in Hermosa Beach, go to schools in Hermosa Beach, and then also be a teacher and work in Hermosa Beach. So big highlight to her. Next is we are collaborating with Hermosa Beach City Police Department on street safety. I'm looking forward to this collaboration. We're working on the possibility of doing a joint video together. And then also working with the Biking Coalition to put together a bike safety and street safety event. One thing that is has been impressed upon me is just how many of our students and like our very small city ride a bike or walk to school. It's astounding, really, in comparison to other school districts. So all the more important that we are, teaching our students good habits, like when it comes to safety and proactively going about it. So look forward to that collaboration. The PTO back to school picnic is September 17th, Friday. Be there or be square. It's a big event. We're looking forward to having a community event back on our campus. We're gonna be careful. We're doing it outside. Maintain 6 feet. Is it Vista or Valley? Yeah. Did I say Vista? I hear you whispering over there. All right. So quit distracting me. So at Hermosa Valley, and we're really excited about it. But good opportunity for us to intermingle with our community and for the community to be together at our schools. And then finally, I want to highlight that it's Spanish Heritage Month. I want to give a little background about I learned something, so here's my dorky self. So it was enacted into law on August 17th, 1988 on the approval of the public law. The day of September 15th is significant because it is the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. So just a highlight Spanish Heritage Month, and that's the origin of it being this month. And that is my superintendent update. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Any queries? Seeing none, thank you very much, Jason. And happy back to school, everyone. Absolutely thrilling. All right, so moving on to superintendent report and board discussion. First item R112122, the 2021-2022 professional development. Sylvia.
Based on our LCAP and our strategic plan. Slide, please. So we have some guiding principles that have helped in creating our professional development plan, and these are based on our 3 LCAP goals of equity, inclusion, culture of excellence, and financial stewardship. Our main focus will be on student achievement, implementing research-based interventions, developing multi-tiered system of support for students, and providing our teachers with the capacity to develop opportunities to address specific learning needs, particularly those of underserved student groups, including students from low-income families, foster youth, and English language learners. Slide, please. So what I've done is I've done some research on professional development because I wanted to make sure we had the best plan that we could ever have this year, because I feel like everything is in alignment with our LCAP and our strategic plan. So likewise, we wanted to make sure our professional development was aligned as well. In 2017, the Learning Policy Institute conducted a survey in regards to professional development for teachers, and they came up with these 7 items that were really important for teachers to have buy-in in professional development and to make it meaningful. So this year we are going to focus on content, and we're going to focus on active learning, where the teachers are engaged in actually working in the process of learning and not just listening and having a lecture to them. They will be doing and they will be producing. We are going to collaborate. We have our Wednesday early out time where our teachers can collaborate, as well as collaborate during our professional development time so they can bounce off ideas, share best practices. We have great capacity in our district with teachers who are experts in certain areas, and they will be providing professional development as well. We've built into the LCAP Fontes and Pinnell mentor coaches that can help our teachers and provide them with guidance on site when they need it at a time when the teachers are available. Feedback and reflection is very important. We will be providing a reflection survey at the end of every professional development, and that would be an opportunity for our teachers to tell us what they gained from the experience, what they need, and how we can move forward. And lastly is duration. We've built into our budget money that goes with professional development as well as time. So we have a really good plan in place that's very strategic in nature. Slide, please. So I've been in the district for a long time, as most of you have known. And if anyone knows me, I am very data-driven, and I need to see things on a plan. And this was something that I haven't seen in our district. And I feel that we need to have a roadmap that guides our instruction and guides our professional development. So prior to setting any professional development in place, we had to create this roadmap. This roadmap shows how we can look at our academic achievement as well as our wellness and social emotional learning plan to guide our instruction. So everything that is pivotal in our district in regards to making decision is listed on this calendar. This calendar was provided to our teachers during the first few days of professional development, and it will continue to guide how we do things in the district, and it will be our place where we can reflect to see what we're doing, how we're growing, what are the areas that we need to focus on. So you can see that we have all of our district surveys listed. They are planned so that we don't have burnout, and they're spaced out, as well as all of our assessments. Slide, please. So our commitment to excellence is really based on capacity building. And how do we do that? We do that with planned time as well as district goals. And we use our time strategically and planned, and there has to be an agenda for everything that we do, as well as a learning objective. So you can see it is a continuous cycle. It doesn't end with the day when we finish our professional development. It continues to be part of our day. We need to apply what we're learning, and we need to assess what we're learning, and we need to continue to look at that data. Slide, please. So when it came down to building our professional development, I took the 3 goals that we have for our LCAP and strategic plan, and I put them into the buckets on how we need to look at student achievement, how do we need to look at equity and inclusion. And you can see, based on the information that's presented, we have a strong focus on equity and inclusion. We want to make sure that every student in the district has the ability to learn and have the opportunity and tools that they need to succeed. How we do that with assessments. We use the data from the assessments, and we continue to collect data throughout the year and reflect upon it. We're going to really focus on these culturally responsive practices to address every student's needs. When we're talking about our culture of excellence, we're looking at our academic area, and we're looking at interventions. So we have a few things that are new to the district this year. Our leveled literacy intervention will be new. Middle school teachers will be really focusing on intervention and how does that look at the middle school level. We need to look at it differently because when students are in those higher grades, we need to address what they're learning and how they're learning with a different methodology. We have our Fontes and Pinnell, we're bringing it back and we're going to implement it with Fidelity. We're going to use that data to drive our instruction. And we're going to continue to work on our SST process. Financial stewardship is the one area we have less professional development in, but the professional development that we have is a partnership with our police department and with the county in regards to tobacco usage and prevention education. And we're really going to focus on our school safety. Now that we're back in school, we need to resume our safety drills, what they look like, and we have partners with the police department and the fire department that can help us with that. And we also have new sites that we're going to start delivering those drills at. So we want to make sure that everything is running smoothly and we have a practice in place. Slide, please. And that's it
Thank you so much,
in a
Sylvia.
nutshell.
Well done. Board, any queries? Good. No questions. Good.
Thank you.
I have a quick query.
Okay.
I do. So busy seeing people in person. It's different. Than looking at
I like
the
it better.
squares. It's great. No, I was just curious. The data and the importance of the data, and that data being used to carry over to the next school. Like, so it's being. I'm just curious. Like, is it being used to help brief our team? Because we've had it from last year.
Great question,
On all the students,
Stephen.
and so they using it to sort of inform and help shape and what have you.
I just sent an email to my staff while you were in closed session on how to access iReady scores from last year. So
Right.
our teachers can access what the students did last year to help starting to guide instruction right away, as opposed to waiting a month to reassess students. That was just sent to them.
Hitting the ground running. Okay, excellent. That was that. And then I have sort of off topic, but I'm with you on the visual, being able to see the calendar and all that sort of stuff. One thought was just sort of the assessments, because we ran into this last year as well with, there's a lot of or can be, and things not colliding on top of each other. Maybe this is a question for the board or for future consideration, was the NPS. I think we've sort of done it we've done it for 2 successive years, and I would motion or like to suggest that we would continue that. I think it provides great data. So just figuring out where in that calendar it makes sense to do it, whether that's February because it's a great window or wherever. But I don't know if we can sort of have your viewpoint on that at a later point.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that.
Thanks. Thank you, Sylvia. That was well done.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item R12, 21, 22, equity and inclusion update.
Test. All right, thank you. I'm here to give a update on the Equity and Inclusion Action Plan. Our last meeting, I believe, was in June, where I shared the action plan itself and then several successive steps to move forward. And we will review that calendar today. Slide. So just a brief sort of recap that there's 12 objectives in our equity and inclusion goal, and the action plan, we're currently in a phase of onboarding and planning, and that's taking place between the months of August through October. We are making good pace. 10 out of the 12 objectives, I would say, are on target at this point in time. Objective 8, Objective 12, which I'll talk a little bit about, are behind timeline, and I'll explain what's happening with those objectives. Slide. So here's an overview, and you can see a breakdown of each of our objectives under the Equity and Inclusion Action Plan, ranging from the committee itself to actions taken. Slide. So our first objective is the Equity and Inclusion Committee. We did have our members selected, and we've shared them on our Equity and Inclusion website. The first meeting did take place. It was successful. You can see the hot link there. The agenda and minutes are posted on our website as well. It was a good kind of meet and greet, an opportunity to review plans, talked a little bit about a data dashboard, and we also talked about some team roles. Our second meeting will review resources, a response procedure, and talk a bit more about school-wide assemblies. Slide. So the FNP benchmark assessment system. This is in an effort to create a standardized reading assessment across our grade levels to track those students that are above and below grade level. We had recruited in-house teachers for FNP training positions. It was Andrea Egger and April Langford. They did a fantastic job, and major kudos to them for training our staff. I actually received really positive feedback from our union president, who we both agree with each other that the best trainings are in-house trainings provided by our own staff, our own people. So that PD took place on September 2nd. And then through the month of October, gearing up for the assessment itself, we'll be establishing guidelines and protocols, sometimes called the one-sheet guidelines. As I've always said to the board and to staff, I do believe that the FNP assessment is an art. It's not just a test. And you have to really practice at it to be good with it. So it's important that our teachers are vertically articulating how they approach it. Slide. Objective number 3, the Panorama assessment. So we have secured our contract with Panorama. Thank you, Sylvia Gluck. And we are, as you saw in the earlier presentation, assessment mapping. We are going to start working with our new counseling team. As we know, we have 2 new counselors on the introduction of Panorama. Thankfully, one of them is from Redondo, and they already have experience with Panorama and its administration. And then we are looking at the first Panorama assessment, 1 of 2 for this year, in December. And that will give us our first school climate data. And this is great because we're also not waiting to the spring California Healthy Kids Survey in order to receive school climate data from our students, parents, and staff. Slide. All right, objective 3, the objective 4, the tri-benchmark assessment system. So we have had a principals meeting in order to review grade level assessment conversations. We had a great dialogue with our principals about our approach. In my staff address, I talked about the importance of our tri-benchmark assessment system, which I believe some board members attended. On September 2nd, we also provided professional development on one of those assessments, which was the FNP benchmark. And then in grades 6 through 8, there was discussion about grading practices, and we'll continue that discussion on best grading practices at the middle school level. September through October, our principals are going to be working with the grade level leadership teams and their grade levels to try to determine a trimester-based assessment system in ELA and math. I think we already have a good lead on this, and we've gotten good feedback from our staff about the iReady system, as well as like the initial trainings on the FNP system. And where we're looking to grow is determining, and for example, at like the middle school level, some type of benchmark system that's content driven, for example, like with social science, that all grade levels can agree to. This takes a lot of work. And I think that the conversations and planning builds a good foundation on the why and why that's important. So I hope that these conversations and this work continues to be fruitful. And I also think that it needs to be thoughtful before you just start administering assessments to kids. Slide. So our data tracking system, we are on target. We purchased the system in July. And through September, we're going to start doing some training on how to use the PowerSchool system. We need to work with PowerSchool on the customization options. And so we have a meeting scheduled through our data technician, Vicky, about like what is the best interface for one way to determine what assessments will go up, that's in the collaboration with our staff, but then also like, how to approach the interface on PowerSchool so that information is digestible for our staff and is also enterable for our staff. That may take a bit of time, so I'm hoping we can keep this moving. But it is important because, as Stephen, you brought up earlier about data being rolled over with students, like our ultimate goal is that, students K through TK through 8 will have data that will travel with them in their PowerSchool student information system. So rather than even us having to say like, hey, go log into iReady, like that data is there and present. Like it'll take a while to build that interface, but I think that we're headed in the right direction. Slide. All right, objective 6, the equity dashboard. So I have had various meetings over the summer with different school districts to look for dashboard examples. There's a wide variety. Some are doing it, some are not doing it. But I did create a draft based off some of the feedback I received from other school districts and presented that to the equity committee. They'll provide feedback as well as we'll share this dashboard with our grade level teams once we meet with the equity committee on September 21st to try to put out some type of draft for our staff to be able to kind of give feedback on for our principals to talk about with staff. So we're still on target there. The equity dashboard, it really is trying to create data points that measure our progress in this district-wide goal and ongoing moving forward as well too. It's also to create a dashboard where it's data that is accessible to us as well. And I think it's important that it aligns with what data the district is currently gathering. We look forward to kind of continuing to see more iterations of that dashboard. Slide. The SST redesign, another thing I talked about in my address. So we did have a principal meeting on August 30th and talked with our principals and shared with them various SST processes and how to approach perhaps rebuilding our SST systems at our school sites. We know that coming out of last year that we'll probably see an increase in SSTs and even assessments for students with special needs in the fall of this year. So it's important to have a strong SST system in place. They'll be meeting with their staffs and reviewing, like potential SST systems, like that they can utilize in order to, the big basis is there a process that does well to not just identify students with needs, but also provide support to those students with needs in a structured way that is tracked rather than, there's a student that is struggling and then we just bring them, like to a meeting and then we're just like, okay, are we going to assess or are we not going to assess? Our goal really is that you don't need an assessment in order to receive intervention or support. We'll continue working on that with our principals and their staff. Slide. This is the equity and inclusion awareness and capacity. This is the professional development that we are looking to provide our staff about culturally responsive practices. What does that mean? And that means that, when you're a teacher in a classroom, do you think about the individuals in your room and design your instruction to best meet their needs, whether it be their background, their ability, their gender, their ethnicity, like their personality. It's just, in some ways it translates to just being a good teacher. But I think that, when you're trying to approach this district-wide, it's important to have structural professional development around it. We have made contact with UCLA Center X, who provides a wide variety of teacher professional development. And we're working with them to secure a contract and partnership to move forward, provide professional development. We have hit a little bit of a snag just because there's been a delay in creating a schedule and a contract with them. So we're hoping to bring that before the board in October. So this is one of our objectives that has been delayed. Slide. Objective 9, Tier 1 through Tier 3 interventions. This ties into our meetings in regard to the SST process. I still think we're in the beginning stages of this, and this is planning and preparation. All teachers, to some shape or form, provide Tier 1 through 3 interventions in their classrooms, depending on their background and knowledge. But we're trying to create a systematized approach. So for example, a strategies checklist, like that all teachers review, like prior to even asking for an SST assessment, like would be like a great tier 1 strategy, right? Where there's just like things that are low hanging fruit that you can try in your classroom. It's a resource that all teachers can draw from. So this is very much in alignment with the work that we're doing with our principals, like to start beginning to design or redesign an SST process. I want to highlight, maybe take a minute. We do have an SST process at any point in time, we can call it an SST. We really are trying to restructure and redesign that process. Slide. So school-wide programs, our counselors are currently working on developing school-wide assemblies. As I mentioned, it's Hispanic Heritage Month this week, this month, and we are looking for resources to share to highlight that month. And then we are moving towards start the day with Hello here in September in alignment with the Sandy Hook Promise. And there you can see some school-wide themes that are coming in October. We're trying to get some better resources now in regard to how to align school-wide assemblies, like with some of our initiatives. And then there are some things that we were already doing that we feel do align well. In fact, as Red Women Week and Bullying Prevention Month, it just aligns well with like some of these practices. So we're going to continue to develop that, and we're looking towards our Equity and Inclusion Committee, as well as our staff, in order to continue to develop that out. And our counselors are taking the lead with that. Slide. So our digital resources, the board, thank you board, you approved the Responsive Practices Specialist Teacher Stipend for our various grades. We have flown those positions, and right now our principals are working on recruitment, and we hope to pick people in those positions and begin establishing a timeline, like when they can start sharing resources. Slide. The communication procedure, this is objective 12. I have had several successive meetings with various school districts. I have found that, and I've shared this with the Equity and Inclusion Committee, that this procedure kind of varies with how districts approach it. I don't think there's necessarily I haven't seen like a standard yet. And I have talked to some school districts. I actually just met with Sentinel Valley today, that have been doing this much longer than a year and a half. And so I think that this one, I will say we probably need more time on. I would cite this as one of the objectives that's not on timeline. And I've probably tried to better establish what we're trying to address. I think that's important. And so I think it's okay to bring it back to the Equity Committee and have that conversation. I mean, we went out, we talked to districts. It seems like it's a pretty diverse field, and how this is approached. It's not necessarily, I haven't found a model yet for it. So I think that it's time to go back and have the conversation of what we want it to look like, and maybe just further draw it out. Like what we're chasing there. Slide. So again, that's just an overview of our objectives. I do think in most areas we're on timeline. This fall has proven to be full, and we're moving a lot of these items along. And some of them hit some bumps, but that's okay. Like as the great Jen Cole says, it's a movement, not a moment. And I think that we're making good progress overall. Slide. Thank you. At this time, I'll take questions.
Jason, thank you very much. And also say thank you, Jen, for being part of the committee and the time on that and the dedication to that. Board, any queries? Thank you.
I meant to say thank you, Sylvia, for the professional development. The roadmap was really helpful with the calendar, and I think it ties nicely in with the equity inclusion work. Could you just do a reminder, the Panorama data group is collecting what information?
Yeah, so the Panorama data is measuring the last survey that we did, which we'd like to continue, which was done by our beach city schools. So that's Manhattan, Redondo, and ourselves. And we did that so you can create sort of a norm of data collection. So it was measuring social emotional wellness, specifically a sense of belonging or feeling a sense of belonging at school. And then it also did a measure of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that was just measuring, diversity awareness, inclusiveness on campus. And that was the data collected through Panorama, which overall is a school climate survey. So it's collecting qualitative data that is very similar to the California Healthy Kids Survey, which is administered statewide.
Much, and thank you for your work on the committee.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah.
I just had a quick question. Was that any of that data shared with the staff? I was just curious.
The Panorama data? Yes, it was.
Thanks.
Quentin, you good? Thank you. Jason, thanks. A lot of great work on here. Thank you. On the dashboard, just uniformity, I guess, or consideration around, I guess we'll get to it when we see it. I was just curious because sometimes it's helpful to see norms, or whether that's norms locally or norms at a national level or whatever else. I don't know if there's sort of, it sounds as though you've gone to sort of further districts to get this as well. And maybe our neighbors don't have, so there's no sort of like standard for our immediate neighbors, Manhattan or Redondo. They don't have.
I have not found an immediate neighbor.
Cool.
There are, if you look nationally, there are iterations of these dashboards. I thought it was important as a first iteration, being that I couldn't find a local to stay close to the California school dashboard. So data that's collected. And so in that range, because the California school dashboard is centered upon equity work, particularly on what are we doing in order to support students that are performing below grade level.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought it was important to try to align it thematically to our equity and inclusion goals. So things that would get close to our current objectives. And then I do think it's important that staff and the committee continues to try to shape what that looks like. I would imagine from just the first iteration that we will attempt a dashboard and we will collect data. And I shared with the committee that I do foresee it evolving, in the first few years, because we're going to learn that some data, they, paint a picture better than others. And I do think that it goes back to what is the purpose of the dashboard. And I think it's to communicate with the public, that being, our community, about the work that we're doing. And so I really do feel like, the data that best communicates that, is best for the dashboard. And then also with the, I don't know if you call it a caveat, but just that it's also data that the district is actually collecting. And that's just for, management purposes. That we, are really staying within the bounds of the data that we're collecting. I don't think that we're shortchanging there because as you can see, we're collecting a lot of data.
Thank you for mentioning also going through the school-wide programs. On the Hispanic heritage, do we partner with our sister city? Is there sort of relations, just thinking about our community partners and our sister city? Is that something we could?
I have not.
Maybe that's a future one.
Yeah, that is definitely a good consideration. I actually learned about our sister city from George of Kiwanis.
Yeah.
So that's a great consideration.
I was channeling my inner George. The other one that I was just curious, and this is whether, is reading week as well. I mean, that's a great opportunity. Over the summer, I dropped off a load of books from Pop the Bubble, and we've got a lot of great sort of resource in that area. And I was just wondering if that's another area for consideration by the committee or yourself.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having Heather Meyer back on staff this year. She is interested in being one of our resource specialists.
Right. That's awesome.
So I think that she'd be a good fit. She's already brought a plethora of ideas, and I did a few of us just it was completely voluntary. Did a book study together, a few teachers, myself, and she was on that book study. And so book club. We are looking forward to collaborating with her for that. I think that it'd be great to have that staff member really take the lead.
That's awesome.
With that work.
That's great. Thank you. And so just next check in with the board. I'm just curious, like there's the TRIME studies and when do you expect a next sort of major update on or back to the board?
Yeah, I have to look at my calendar, but I believe it's near the end of the trimester.
Great. Thank you very much, Jason.
You're very welcome. Any other questions?
Right.
Thank you.
Moving on to R132122, Measure S Facility Program Updates. Paula.
Good evening. We'll wait for Christine to get the presentation up. So here is our Hermosa View School Measure S update for this evening. Progress photo gallery. Next slide. We'll move pretty quickly through these pictures, Christine. Here's the front of the old school, Hermosa View. The F1 Kinder building framing is beginning. The work is starting there in the old parking lot. Next slide. Framing continues. It's amazing how much progress they can make in a matter of a couple of days. Next slide. This is the F2 grading is still going on, and that's the second building in the back. Next slide. Kinder F2 underground plumbing is going in. Next slide. F2 underground plumbing, a different view. Next slide. The Kinder building wall for installation, that's for support. Next slide. The storm drain for the entire campus is going in there in the parking lot. Next slide. Kinder 2 footing. So this is the base of the building. Those footings are going in. Next slide. Electrical underground lines are being trenched out. Next slide. Underground plumbing, and this is up front. This is for building B up front of the campus. It's really cool how you see that long view. Next slide. Slurry and conduits going in for building B up front. Next slide. Here are a few of aerial views of the campus from the back to the front. And the one on the right is in the front of the school off of Prospect.
Mhm.
F2. Okay. Next slide. Here's an aerial view of the framing for F1 that's up. That's amazing. Next slide. A different shot along there. The one on the right is the where building B is going to be, where the big hole is, and the left is F1 and F2. Next slide. That's it. Thank you. Jason, did you have any further updates for Measure S at this time?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Paula, thank you very much. And Nancy, thanks for being here this evening. You know,
Thank you, Nancy.
definitely. Thank you, Nancy. Board, any queries? All good. Thank you very much for the updates and appreciate the pictures. All right. Moving on to consent. Do I have a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Maggie, do I have a second? Thank you. Quentin? Christine, if you could do the honors.
Board Member Cole,
Aye.
Board Member Gardner,
Aye.
Board Member Cluth.
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica.
Aye.
And President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you very much. Moving on to board action items. First up is Superintendent item S12-21-22, updates to board policies and administrative regulations.
Recommended the board to update some board policies and administrative regulations. Most are in relation to Title IX and sexual harassment, just some housekeeping items. Thank you. I'll take any questions at this time.
Jason, board, any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve item S12, 21, 22, the updates to board policies and administrative regulations?
So moved.
Oh, it's a stalemate.
Doug can have it,
Doug
Doug.
can have it, but I'll take a second from Jen. Thank you. Christine, if you could do the honors, please.
Board Member Cole,
Aye.
Board Member Gardner,
Aye.
Board Member Cluth.
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica,
Aye.
and President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Christine, moving on to business item B25, 21, 22, adopt resolution 02, 21, 22, authorized signature resolution.
Another housekeeping item, just recommended the board adopt the resolution to authorize a signature resolution. Just has to do with LACO. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Any queries from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve item B25, 21, 22, the adoption of resolution 02, 21, 22, the authorized signature resolution? So moved. Thank you, Doug. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. Christine?
Board Member Cole,
Aye.
Board Member Gardner,
Aye.
Board Member Cluth.
Aye.
Vice President Bove LaMonica.
Aye.
And President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you. Moving on to item B26, 21, 22, the 2020, 2021 unaudited actuals. Or- huh?
Presentation. So I'm here tonight to present the 2020-21 unaudited actuals. Next slide. One of our guiding principles, as Ms. Gluck mentioned previously, is financial stewardship. And again, that's why I'm here tonight to present the unaudited actuals. Next slide. A summary of our year, looking at our enrollment. Our enrollment has increased from 2021 going into 21-22, which is a good thing. We're going to continue to market our enrollment through Facebook, Instagram, our interdistrict permit program that we have going, our TK and Kinder full day program. So we're looking to grow our enrollment throughout this year. Moving into 22-23, our funding will no longer be held harmless. It'll be based on our actual enrollment. So our enrollment growth is critical. Our revenue increased due to COVID funding throughout this year, and our expenditures decreased for future out years as well, based on the one-time COVID funding that we'll be receiving, that we received last year and that we will be receiving in this fiscal year. And our reserve levels have increased by 4% as of June 30. Next slide. Taking a look at our enrollment, when I did this slide, our enrollment was 1241. I believe Dr. Jason said it's 1240 now, so we're right there in that neighborhood. It's fluctuating daily, actually. We have kids coming in as well. Looking at our ADA funding in 22-23, as I mentioned, our funding will be based on current year enrollment. We will no longer be held harmless. So again, the push for continued enrollment growth. Next slide. When we take a look at our unaudited actuals, our revenue is $15.5 million. Our one-time COVID dollars are included in that as well. And we look at our expenditures of $13.5 million. We use our COVID dollars first before using our district funds. So we were able to manage our expenditures wisely and cut expenditures. Next slide. how does that affect our reserve moving forward? So our ending fund balance on June 30 was 6.7 million. We have reserves within the assignment like we've discussed previously, leaving us a reserve for economic uncertainties of 4.3 million or 32%. Next slide. The Los Angeles County Office of Education has asked me to present information in a different way than we've ever done before, i.e. adding this slide. They wanted me to bring it to everyone's attention that the state minimum reserve for economic uncertainty is 3%. And that's $404,000 based on our expenditures for this fiscal year, leaving 3.9 available, or still a total of 4.3 million. And those funds can be used to maintain enrollment for declining enrollment going on in out years. We'll use those funds for that, protect instructional programs, and anything other that the board may provide direction for moving forward. Next slide. Our other funds, I want to draw your attention to Fund 8, which is the ASB Fund, which a few months ago you authorized me opening up that account and approved a resolution. Student funds currently has a balance of $194,000. All other funds are running according to plan. I did want to call attention to, and there's a couple of agenda items after this for the cafeteria fund. That money that's sitting on the books is deferred revenue. So revenue was taken in from students. That's their money sitting on the books. To fund the program, the general fund did have to make a deposit into the cafeteria fund, and we'll discuss that on another item. And next slide. I think that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Paula. Board queries. Jen.
Thanks, Paula. That was helpful. It makes me wonder what district, like, so why did they put the reserve at 3% only? Like what would be like at a big LAUSD district only having 3, they obviously have a smaller reserve than we do.
Right, but they have millions of dollars, and it's just all relative. I don't know why the number is 3%, but that's the minimum that's required.
Because if there was a disaster,
Right.
3% wouldn't get you anywhere.
Right.
And so I'm not sure where they would get the other money from too. So I'm always confused as to why it's so low.
Yeah, we can definitely follow up and see what the rationale is behind the 3%. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it did go up in relation to the crash of the economy. Is that accurate?
No, I think it's been 3% for a number of years, but it's based on that current year's expenditures. So, it will flex from year to year. I like Jason said, we can look up what the rationale is, why it's so low.
Yeah,
Because like you said,
that's
it's
a
not gonna.
statewide thing. Because I'm like, are they thinking then the federal government would come in and save school districts at that point? Like, I'm just confused as to where it comes from.
Yeah, I believe that you're speaking to would be a state receivership, and in regard to if you're unable to make your payroll. And I believe there's actually a local school district that went through that.
Yeah, I mean, when I worked in Compton, we were in state receivership. I remember that, but this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And the ASB fund, what do we hold that for again?
So the ASB fund is for student fees that would come into the district, that it's held in that fund for like trips, the 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade trip. There's a variety of things that run through that account.
Thank you, Paula.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
When I did just a quick Google search, it was a 2014 rule off of the 3%, because I remember we had to go back and forth on the small district accommodations for trying to get around that. The question I had is off of the school fund. Are you going to, or the cafeteria fund, are you going to talk about how free lunch is happening and how that fund gets treated?
I wasn't prepared to. I can talk a little bit about it when at that. Do you want me to talk about it now or?
Why don't we go ahead and we'll follow up
With that?
about
Okay.
that in a board update.
Quentin, good. Great, thank you. Quick queries. I mean, anytime we see numbers, I always have to say thank you to the community and especially our HBF partners. I know our PTO does a lot as well, but that's a meaningful amount to the bottom line, and always, particularly coming from last year and moving into this year, just huge thanks to everyone in our community who gives and can give at whatever levels they can. Just curious on ADA, and then we're also really focused on ADA and our enrollment. Remind me the period of which we get focused. This might, I don't know if there's, because there's certain periods, and maybe this is a conversation for when we get into like scheduling or other things, but I'm coming at this more so for we've got back to school night, and I'm curious both on, I don't know if if we include it as part of our reminder to parents the importance of being in school, not only for their children's education, but also for our ADA. But and to that, I don't know if we communicate on our website, because we recently had our website update, that if you have to excuse your student, and I don't know if that's permissible or not, but I believe there was a potential donation from like suggested amounts for parents to give. And I don't know if that's still a policy or something that we let people know about, but
We've moved away from that policy in relation to COVID and quarantines. And we just, it's very difficult to disaggregate. And we're encouraging our families to stay home if their child may be ill, which I understand that even like there's a difference. But like in the era of COVID, we actually last year did have a conversation as a team and kind of moved away from that for just the time being, especially in relation to hold harmless as well.
yeah, okay. Totally get the COVID thing, totally. Okay, I was just, sometimes people look to take vacations or trips, so that was just that period. But great, thank you very much, Paula.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve item B27, 21, 22, the 2021-2022 budget revisions? Oh,
We're still on the one
done
before.
alternated actuals, wasn't it? Where am I up to?
To approve the
You're at
unaudited
budget
actuals.
unaudited actuals. No, we did not.
26, 21, 22.
It is the B27?
Nope.
I've jumped ahead, it's B26, isn't it? Hang on, where am I up to, people?
I'll move to approve B26, 21, 22.
Thank you.
I second it then.
Thank you for the second, Jen. Christine?
Board Member Cole,
Aye.
Board Member Gardner,
Aye.
Board Member Cluth,
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica,
Aye.
and President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you. Okay, now moving on to B27, 21, 22, the 2021-2022 budget revisions.
There we go. Thank you, Stephen. The budget revisions are a reflection of what I was speaking about earlier. Fund 13 was not able to fund itself, so the district needs to contribute to the cafeteria fund to make it flush. It's a fund that cannot run negative. So will be a transfer from the general fund to the cafeteria fund. So it's from Fund 1 to Fund 13. B27, yeah. It's in an amount of, I don't have the exact amount, 63K.
Okay.
So we just need authorization to do so.
Okay. Board, any?
Right. So B27 and they're intertwined. So one is a resolution to actually transfer. And the budget revisions is the document that LACO will use to move the money.
Got it. Okay, so.
Yes, no problem. No worries.
So for order, any queries and comments on B27? Seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve B27, 21, 22, the 2021, 2022 budget revisions.
So moved.
Thank you, Jen. Do I have a second? Thank you, Quentin. Christine.
Board Member Cole,
Aye.
Board Member Gardner,
Aye.
Board Member Cluth.
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica.
Aye.
And President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Moving on to item B28, 21, 22, the resolution for 03, 21, 22 for the authorization on cash transfers.
Thank you, Stephen. So this is the vehicle. The resolution will authorize the transfer from one fund to another. LACO requires a resolution as well in the business office. So this resolution will allow us to make that transfer for fiscal year 2021.
Thank you, Paula. Board, any queries? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve B28, 21, 22, the resolution 03, 21, 22 for the authorization on cash transfers?
Yes, moved. So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Doug. Christine.
Board Member Cole.
Aye.
Board Member Gardner.
Aye.
Board Member Cluth.
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica.
Aye.
And President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Okay. B29, 21, 22, the resolution 04, 21, 22 for the authorization on cash transfers.
So this is the same type of resolution, but it's for fiscal year 21, 22, giving authorization for the district to transfer funds from one fund to another, not to exceed $250,000 at any one transfer.
Board, any queries on this item? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve B29, 21, 22, the resolution for 04, 21, 22 for the authorization on cash transfers?
So moved.
Thank you, Doug. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Quentin. Christine.
Board Member Cole.
Aye.
Board Member Gardner.
Aye.
Board Member Cluth.
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica.
Aye.
President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Moving on to item B30, 21, 22, the resolution 05, 21, 22 on authorization of temporary borrowing.
Thank you, Stephen. This is another housekeeping issue. Authorization for temporary borrowing between funds. So we can borrow from Fund 1, from Fund 25 or Fund 40. We would just have to pay back those funds at the end of the fiscal year prior to the close of the books. And this is just a formality in case we need to do so.
Thank you, Paula. Any queries? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve B30, 21, 22, the resolution 05, 21, 22 on the authorization on temporary borrowing?
So moved.
Thank you, Quentin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. Christine.
Board Member Cole.
Aye.
Board Member Gardner.
Aye.
Board Member Cluth.
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica.
Aye.
President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you, Christine. Paula, you are crushing the resolutions tonight. So we are moving on to item B31, 21, 22, resolution 06, 21, 22 on temporary transfers from the LA County Treasury.
Right, so this will be the last resolution for this evening, I believe. It's also another housekeeping issue for the 21-22 fiscal year that we could temporarily borrow from the Los Angeles County Treasurer Office if need be.
Board, any queries?
This is just a source of funds of last resort.
Absolutely, yes.
Great. Do I have a motion to approve item B31, 21, 22, the resolution 06, 21, 22 on temporary transfers from the LA County Treasury?
So moved.
Thank you, Quentin. Do I have a second?
Aye. Or second.
Thank you, Jen. Christine.
Board Member Cole.
Aye.
Board Member Gardner.
Aye.
Board Member Cluth.
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica.
Aye.
And President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you, Christine. Moving on to business item B32, 2021, the proposal for a developer fee justification study.
Thank you, Stephen. So approval is recommended to prepare a developer fee justification study. Rates are due to increase in January, and based on the cost of construction, the increase, they're expecting a substantial increase to the rate. So we want to try and be ahead of that game, have our study done, and be ready to collect new developer fee rate.
Thank you, Paula. So a lot of heads nodding on that, so that's good. Any queries? Yeah. Okay, I'll take Maggie first, please.
Just a question off of the process for the developer fee study. Is there a timeline that the study is supposed to happen? Is there like a legislative piece, or how often is it supposed to?
You can do a developer fee study as often as need be if the rates are going up, and if you feel that it's going to be a substantial rate increase, then you want to take advantage of that. I know in the past, the district hasn't always kept up with the developer fees, but moving it forward, we plan to keep up with the developer fee study so that we can keep our facilities in tip-top shape for our students and families.
So does that look like annual, every 3 years, every 5 years?
Could be as often as annual. Yeah.
Thank you, Maggie. Jen?
It's just to piggyback off that question is, so because I was like, gosh, I swear we did this last year.
We
We
did.
did, right?
Mhm.
And so every year we have to pay Jack Schrader and Associates.
Yes.
What are they doing for us? Like, why can't we do it ourselves?
So it's an in-depth study. They study like all the construction in the area, whether it's new construction, remodeling, what the cost is for Hermosa Beach. They also study surrounding districts because we partner with Redondo and Manhattan for our developer fees. They get a portion of ours because our kids go to their high schools.
Right.
So they also flush that out for us. It's a complicated study.
So Jack Schrader, am I saying his last name right?
Yeah.
They look at what developer fees would be in our area that would sound right to adjust to. And every area,
So this-
every city has a different developer fee. Is that how it works?
They have a different rate, yes. And the state allocation board is the one that sets the rate for the increase. And then based on what our criteria is that meets that, then we would be able to participate in the increase.
So it's not like a 3% is like we take
No.
the developer fee and then every year a rate increases by whatever the state sets and you don't have to,
Yeah, no, it's not a set fee. So it's based on our developer fees for our specific clientele, our families, our residential, our commercial properties, and property values.
great.
I think I'm asking a similar flavor of question. I guess, is this advice that we're seeking, or is this the right answer? Or is there some constraint that we are required to spend this money to get this?
It's required. It's part of the process that you have to do so this is the first step. And then after this first step, they do the study. And then then the district has to do multiple things. We have to advertise. We have to follow a protocol of things that have to be done in a particular timeline in order to be eligible.
Okay. I think that makes sense. I was just trying to figure out if could the past tell us what the developer fee should be, and therefore, and we just, decide we're going to raise prices this year by this much.
Yeah.
And without having to get any consulting done on it. And I guess the answer is we can't do that.
No.
Okay.
That was Jen's question too,
Good
right?
flavor though.
Trying to
Good-
save us money, right?
Okay,
All right, thanks.
Doug, just triple checking again. Yeah, indeed, amen. I do have a query, if I remember also back, if this is the right one, so keep me honest if it wasn't. Is this also the one where it's not only the fee, but then the consideration about split to Redondo Union and Miracosta because of our high school relationship?
Yes.
And we had some, maybe this is just sort of as you go in, assuming this is moving forwards, just the I think there was a sort of a looking at context and percentages and balances, and I don't know sort of the conversations with, like, are more of our students going to one, so we should be apportioning. Is there an allocation thing, or is it more the rate? Like, what's the scope of their study? And does that, we seem to get into debate about that last time, and I was just wondering if that was something that would be involved in the study.
So there is an MOU with Manhattan Beach and Redondo Beach and Hermosa in regards to the split. I don't remember the specific split off of the top of my head, but I could provide that in a board update.
Right. Or do I have a motion to approve item B32 2021, the proposal for developer fee justification study?
So moved.
Thank you, Quentin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. Christine.
Board Member Cole?
Aye.
Board Member Gardner?
Aye.
Board Member Cluth?
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica?
Aye.
And President McCall?
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you, Christine. Moving on to item B332122, the fiscal year 2021-2022 participation in the ELC COVID-19 grant. Paula.
Thank you. So the district is going to participate in the ELC grant that the Los Angeles County Office of Education is providing. The district is eligible to be reimbursed up to $207,000 for testing and safety protocols and PPEs that we would need to run this program. So this is the first step, we're asking for ratification to follow. We've submitted the contract to LACO, and we're in the process of working with beach cities to be our testing provider for our weekly testing.
Thank you, Paula. Any queries from the board? Thank you for doing this. And do I have a motion to approve item B332122, fiscal year 2021-2022 participation in the ELC COVID-19 grant?
So moved.
Thank you, Doug. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jen. Christine.
Board Member Cole?
Aye.
Board Member Gardner?
Aye.
Board Member Cluth?
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica?
Aye.
And President McCall?
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you, Christine. Moving on to the last business item, B342122, Memorandum of Understanding with Lawndale Elementary School District for Independent Study Services.
Okay, for the 2021-22 school year, AB 130 requires each school district to provide an independent study option for students. In order to fulfill this mandate, Hermosa Beach City School District has entered an agreement with Lawndale Elementary School District to provide our students with their program. A big thank you to Dr. Hamilton and to Travis Collier for working with our school district to provide this option for our students. It is recommended that the board approve this MOU.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. Board, any queries?
Where do we know our numbers yet of how many students?
2.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just confirming. Thanks. Great job.
Yeah, great job, particularly given the amount of live instruction. So thank you very much to you and your department as ever. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, on that, do I have a motion to approve item B342122, the Memorandum of Understanding with Lawndale Elementary School District for Independent Study Services?
So moved.
Thank you, Jan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. Christine.
Board Member Cole?
Aye.
Board Member Gardner?
Aye.
Board Member Cluth?
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica?
Aye.
And President McCall?
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the final item, personnel, and it is P132122, the Memorandum of Understanding between Hermosa Beach City School District and Hermosa Beach Educators Association, certificated and classified on the reopening schools 2021-2022.
Thank you, Stephen. It's recommended a board to adopt the MOU agreement between the Hermosa Beach Educators Association and the school district. My compliments again to HBA, who have been great partners in negotiating the conditions of employment through COVID-19 last year and now going into this year. It really has been a team effort. They have been a total asset in getting our kids safely back in school and getting our staff safely back in school. So I just want to give a big thank you to them and their work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason. And on behalf of the board, echoing and seconding the thanks to HBA. Absolutely. Board, any queries on this item? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve item P13 2122, Memorandum of Understanding between HBCSD and HBEA, certificating classified on the reopening of schools 2021-2022?
So moved.
Thank you, Jim.
Second.
Thanks, Doug, for the second. Christine?
Board Member Cole,
Aye.
Board Member Gardner,
Aye.
Board Member Cluth,
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica.
Aye.
And President McCall.
Aye.
All in favor.
All right. I mean, it feels unnatural. I feel like, you know. All right, okay. Board Member Roundtable. All right, folks. Anyone have anything? Go down the line. Quentin. You good, Jen?
This is just to put on the, it doesn't have to be discussed tonight, but I'd like to look into the dress code for Hermosa. And I'd also am curious about, so it's not right now, I just want to have that on the docket of a discussion I want to have. And then curious about what's happening with the extra food at lunchtime. I'm assuming there's extra food because more kids are probably eating there because the school lunch is now free.
Yeah. Do you have like a specific like question?
No, are we giving like what happens at the end of the day when we have like not ever, you know, some kids are bringing lunch, some kids aren't, but it's free for everyone. So
Yeah. Right now we are not, because we're still working with our pre-ordering system. It's been a little bumpy, just getting used to that. So we've that should be corrected hopefully next week and going into, but is your inquiry more just in relation to just generally what do we do with extra food?
well, it just seems like if there's going to be free lunch for everyone, then there will, and you can't, I don't know if you're having to account for it,
Yep.
then there's some kids that will bring their lunch those days
Right.
and then there'll be extra food. I just am at Redondo, the experience I'm seeing with my kids is they can decide the morning of and walk to school with, and so there's the planning for that seems like extraordinary.
Yes,
and
it is.
Waste also will seem extraordinary. So I'm
It-
just curious as to when we are thinking about it long term, it's like, are there shelters that we can give that food to? Is there, if there's extra?
So there is a program that we can sign up through Torrance Unified to do so. Currently, there hasn't been any leftover food. Everything that we've cooked has been served. Today, we pulled out some PB&Js upon request. The main entree, we still had some left, but so yeah, we're using all the food that we're at this point.
We're definitely this isn't your direct related. We're definitely in a period of transition with the new program, and it's been pretty consuming. We hope to have it ironed out in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's overwhelming. I just the food service in all schools. I don't know how many other places are doing it. So it's like, oh my gosh.
Thank Paula though, because they usually
you,
have
Paula.
departments. We have our business manager.
Thank you, Jen. Actually, on our governance calendar, when do we look at food? I know we had like a 3-year contract with Torrance. This may be one for a board update. If you could just let us know when that comes around. Because is it this year or is it next year? I seem to remember it.
So we were considering looking at food this year and moving beyond our contract in order to partner with an app-based service. With the introduction of universal free lunch, that's kind of turned that on its head. And part of that has to do with how free lunch is reimbursed. We could certainly provide a board update in order to explain a little bit of how that works. Maybe give us a little bit of time to provide the board information. But yeah, that plan, you mean like has been a bit upended with this new program.
That's really interesting context and totally appreciate that. I think that would be really welcome, just in consideration of certain maybe what our neighbors would do. You know, there's maybe like what does Redondo do or Manhattan Beach do? But there's a bigger study thing. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, one of the things to point out is that many of those, Christine's telling me I'm not on camera. Hold on, you see me. So Christine, no, not Christine, Paula. Just one thing to keep in consideration is with many of the, like Redondo, for example, like they have like their kitchen, right? So like they are able to better prepare their own food, whereas we have a contract with Torrance where our food is prepared elsewhere.
We actually heat and serve.
Yeah. So it's just that is a difference is capacity, and that's why we were looking at an app-based service as a possibility to improve the quality of food. But again, we can share with the board some numbers about how universal free lunch may impact our participation in a program like that.
Great. Sorry, that was just backing off of Jen's comment. But, thank you.
Giant thank you to the families and teachers and staff, district staff for a successful launch of the school year. We had brand new administration for the 2 campuses and so many brand new students. So thank you for such a good launch.
Thank you.
Yeah, I second that. Great work by everybody. 3 days in the books. As Grant would tell me, 177 more. But who's counting? Also, thank you. I know it's been a lot of stress and work to figure out this free lunch program, but thank you for all the departments for doing it. I think it is a meaningful program and an offering to have for our community. So the effort is greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank Paula.
While we're talking about free lunch, can I plug the application?
Yes.
So the district does receive additional funds for those families that are truly eligible to receive free and reduced lunch. So we're asking all families, if you think you're eligible, to please go to the website and apply at familyportal.com. Everything is on the website, and we'll be sending out a flyer at the end of the week or beginning of next week to ask families again to apply.
Right, thank you, Paula. I'll just build on the thanks, but especially to those in the room, and to the team. I know that the summer, just there's a huge amount of work that's been going on. I know actually you've not had much of a summer in yourselves, so I think coming into the new school year, it's sort of a pacing thing and the excitement of the things. But I think just on behalf of the board, thank you. I know there's a lot of work that comes into the school year, and just a sincere thanks on that. With that excitement, I've got 2 things. I want to just repeat it just because I can and we've got time. Quentin, these are important. One's HBF, whatever. Okay, first of all, I'm going to repeat back to school picnic because it is on Friday, September 17th. I got a little sort of blurb I was asked to read. So all HBS families are invited to attend, bring chairs and blankets, wander the information fair, learn about school groups, local organizations and businesses while enjoying great entertainment from local dance studio, the Hermosa Valley Band, Coast Music. Enjoy catching up with classmates, families, friends, old and new, and we really hope to see everyone there. So that is Friday, September 17th, 4:30 to 7:30 at Hermosa Valley School. And the last one is HBF. Coming into the new school year, I know with back to school nights, we'll sort of have HBF presence at things. Again, we just saw from the numbers this evening and how much of a meaningful impact that the school district doesn't work and our sort of enrichments and our excellence. So for anyone who is, considering it's great that with HBF, if, you can give at whatever levels you can support, there's an ability to fund that over the year and to do recurring payments. That makes it a lot easier, just sort of administratively as well. So do please give to HBF. All right, with that, I think I'm done. And we'll move to adjournment. That's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn the evening, the meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Well, it's almost like in chorus and unison, a celebration of the 7:42 p.m. finish. I'll take whoever that was, but thank you. Christine?
Board Member Cole?
Aye.
Board Member Gardner?
Aye.
Board Member Klug?
Aye.
Vice President Clerk Bove LaMonica?
Aye.
And President McCall?
Aye.
All in favor?
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, everyone. Good night.